Bespoke Miscellaneous Charts, Gradient Radial Bar Chart. And this is the way it looks like. This is a play on the radial bar chart tutorial that first started my journey. What I've done here is added an additional icon as well as added a beautiful gradient color. It just adds that little bit of extra wow factor to the day visualization. So I hope you enjoy this one. So let's open up Tableau and let's get ready. So we are going to get started by loading our sample Superstore data source. Let's click on Microsoft Excel, locate the Superstore file, double click. Now let's drag orders onto the query panel. Once our data is loaded, let's go to sheet 1. As we're doing some data densification, I want us to go to our regular trick, which is to right click on ship mode, go to create, calculated field, and let's call this path, shall we? We are going to say if and only if ship mode is equal to first class, then I want 0, else to 70. Nice and simple. Click apply, click OK. Now let's create our bin object. Right click on path, go to create, select bin, and let the size be 1. Nice and simple. Now with this said, let us create our index. So create calculated field. Let's call this index, and inside let's make it index -1. Let's click OK. Let's create our circles. So let's create our calculated field. Let's create our X and Y to draw our circle. We'll put sign, radians, index. Let's click OK. Make sure we close the bracket. Let's repeat this and create Y, which will have cos, radians, and once again index. Nice and simple. So what I want us to do is to bring X onto columns, Y onto rows. I want us to take path bin, bring it onto rows, right click and ensure that show missing values is selected. I want us to change the mark type to circles for now. I want us to take path bin, move it on to detail. Last step, I want us to right click on X, go to compute using, and select path bin. I want us to do the same for Y. Right click, compute using, path bin. You can see we've now built out our basic framework, our basic grid. Now what I want us to do is take region and drop it onto color. So now we have multiple regions. As before, we have to integrate our data with our basic framework. So let's do this now. Firstly, let's create our cells value. So TC cells, which will be Windows, sum of cells. Nice and simple. Let's click OK. Let's duplicate this. We are going to rename this though and call this total cells. With me so far? Now we will create another calculation for TC percentage. And this would very simply take TC cells divided by TC total cells. Again, nice and easy. Finally, we have a few more calculations, one more, which will be our adjusted. So TC percentage adjusted. So far this is exactly like the radial bar chart that we built earlier. And this would be TC percentage divided by Windows max TC percentage. Last but not least, we are going to create a TC rank, which will literally only have the index function, not the reference but a function. Now, with that said and done, let's modify our X and our Y. So let's edit X. Our index will now be multiplied by TC adjusted percentage. Let me make sure I didn't add an extra space in the name. And we also want to multiply by TC rank. Let's click OK. Don't worry if it disappears, perfectly normal. Let's do the same with Y. Index will be multiplied by TC percentage adjusted and then multiplied by TC rank. Let's click OK. Now, let's right click on X, go to compute using, select path bin. Let's do the same thing with Y, right click, go to compute using, select path bin. You see it looks a little crazy, but that's fine. Let's right click on X. Now we are going to edit the table calculation, get into a bit more depth. The key ones here that we need to change is total cells, where we need to make sure region is included. Nested calculations, let's change that to rank, and we only want region selected. I want us to now do exactly the same thing with Y. Right click on Y, edit table calculations. With nested calculation as TC rank, make sure that only region is selected. For total cells, we want path and region to be selected. Finally, for percentage adjusted, we also want the same. Let's go back to X, edit table calculations, and add region as well. So here you see, you now have your radial bar chart, although what I want us to do is adjust the sort order. So let's right click on region, sort. Let's sort this by a field, let's sort it by cells, and it's going to be a sum. And that's exactly what we're looking for right now. So now that we understand the basic dynamics, what I'm going to do now is change this from a circle back to line. I'm going to take path bin and drop this on the path mark. Let's increase the size slightly. Now the key here is that we are now going to make this have a gradient effect. So therefore we need a color calculation, and we're going to create that right now. So let's create a calculated field called TC color. Within this, Windows max region. So we're going to take the region, and then we're going to add to that a string index. Let's click OK. I want us to take region and move it onto the label. I want to click on the label mark, select line ends, and only have start of line selected. But that's what we have at the moment. This is where it becomes fun and interesting at the same time. So now I want to take TC color and drop that onto color itself. I want to right click on this, go to compute using, and select path bin. As you can see at the side, Central has between 0 and 360 or 270 because of the numbers that we had in as our path. East starts from 0 and goes to 270 as well. But what we're going to do is apply some color settings here. So what I want us to do is take region and drop that onto filters. I'm going to select central first, click OK. Now I'm going to click on color, edit color. I'm going to go to orange and assign palette. And what you can see is done is it's assign a color palette. Let's click apply. As you can see, we have this gorgeous gradient now. Let's change the region to east. Now with east, I would like to click on color and I would like to assign a different palette to east. So let's assign a beautiful blue palette. Let's actually show the filter and let's show all values. How about we now just filter for south? And with south, we can edit the color. I'm going to choose a nice red. And finally, for west, I'm going to set this to be a beautiful purple. Now I'm going to show all of our regions together. This is how we build our radial gradient bar chart. But wait, we're not finished yet. Let's have a little bit more fun. With the label, I want us to take TC cells and stick it onto the label. I want us to also take DC percentage and also put it onto the label. I want us to format these, but right click and format the TC cells. Make sure it's a currency. US currency with 0 decimal places, me. Fantastic. And with TC percentage, let's convert this to a percentage. And as a percentage, 1 decimal place should do it. Now let's edit the label for region. Let's increase the size. We just added a little bit of spacing. Let's see what that looks like. A little bit too much space. And region, I want this to be our bold. So make that Tableau bold. Let's click OK. So this is what we currently have. The last thing I want to do is the line, the slashes. I'm going to make that very light grey, so it looks like a divider, and make that font 8. So make it a very light grey and font 8. Again, this is just stylistic at the moment. If we click OK, that's what we come up with. Nice and beautiful. The last thing I want to do is add an icon. So let's do that. Let's take TC rank, bring it along to rows and drop that down. Once that is loaded, I want to remove everything. So I want to keep removing. I'm going to take region onto color. I'm going to turn this into shape. Let's reduce the size of those shapes. Trust me, you'll see what I'm doing in just a moment. Let's click on shape. Let's see what icons we have here. Let's pick an arrow and apply. What I want us to do now is dual axis these two. I want us to synchronize. And now I want us to increase the size of the shape. There you have it. Now for regions, all we have to do is change the color. So I'm going to double click on color mark, edit colors. So west is purple, east is blue, central is orange, and south is red. Beautiful. We click apply. Now all we have to do is hide the headers. We no longer need the legend, so let's hide that. Let's rename our sheet as Gradient Radial Bar Chart. Let's right click and select format. Let's remove the grid lines, the zero lines. Let's remove the column divider and row divider. And there we have it. We have our Gradient Radial Bar Chart. A nice variation on the radial bar chart we've built before. Definitely a bit more of an oomph factor. All the information is there and it's just engaging. So I hope you had fun with this and look forward to seeing you in the next lecture.